Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk about the IOL Intact Webinar 3.3 release. I want to thank everyone who came. A couple of webinar things we're going to want to cover right away is there's a Q&A section. If you would please type your question into the box and click send. At the end of the webinar, we'll try to answer as many of those questions as they come up, so that would be great. Just a little QA button, just click on that. The format of today's webinar, we're going to go through the slides at first just to see everything, and then we're going to have a demonstration at the end. So if things aren't clear on the slides, you can wait for the demo. We'll cover most of the things that show up there. So let's just get right to it. What's new with 3.3? So 3.3 has some major changes from the current release version of Intact, which was 2.6. The main thing, we've redesigned the GUI, and that's really in support of multiple sessions. So those two kind of go hand in hand, and we'll demonstrate multiple sessions today. We made some updates to the CLI. We've added support for DPDK. We've made it ready for RFC 8200 and 8201. And we've also added a RESTful API this year. Some of the new features that I'll go over in detail is a lot of this came from customer requests. There's a single window now to control Intact, so there's not multiple pop-ups taking away your focus. We've added tab support for displaying multiple test cases at once. That was a request. We now have a dashboard that controls all the messaging, notifications and dashboard type stuff. We also have added a resume button that allows you, if you're running a long set of test cases, it'll pause and restart. And we've also had the ability to have custom labels we've added. Another thing I forgot to mention, there's going to be poll questions throughout the webinar. And please feel free to vote on what future webinars you would like us to see work on. I think there's a couple of them. We have a couple of suggestions, so please feel free to click on any of those. Give us some more feedback so we can make sure we cover the right topics in future webinars. Thanks. Multiple sessions. So this is one of the bigger updates we made. This allows users to run multiple testings from the same Intact sessions. Also, additionally, even if you only have one license, it'll allow you to review another testing. A lot of users want to review the previous testing they did while the current one is ongoing. Multiple sessions allow you to view it. If you only have one license, for example, one of them will be in read-only mode, meaning it can't run testing, but you can still look at the results and get an idea, and that's what we'll display today. It does prevent you also from, if you have the same configuration, it'll lock it so that you can't accidentally be running two different testings at the same time. That's mostly because you wouldn't want to be testing the same device with two versions of Intact. So those are the main, that's one of the main features of 3.3 that we've added. CLI updates. Previously, to automate Intact, you had to open up a GUI to set up a session, and then you could close the GUI and then use the CLI to run it. Now the CLI is fully functional. You can script or do it all through text. It can run in a headless mode. You can configure all the DUT configuration parameters, all the capture configuration. All of those things can now be done through the CLI, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. This release has DPDK support. We added this mostly for 40 and 100 gig interfaces. We were running into some problems with the generic ones, so DPDK seemed to be a open source solution. The lab does work with DPDK already, so we took some of those resources and applied them to making Intact run over DPDK support. This will allow testing at 40 and 100 gig. Going forward in the future, I think Intact will be adding some performance testing, and we'll also use the same DPDK infrastructure to allow us to do some performance testing, load testing, latency, the bandwidth type testing support. Another big addition to the 3.3 release is we have a REST API. This is really for CI environments. You can start an Intact app, and it will sit there and then take the configuration or JSON files you want to run. It will go off and run the testing and then report back when the testing's done. So we have some of our own stub generation. We'd be more than happy to work with anyone who's interested. in deploying this. We have a separate guide for the API that's really focused on that. But today we're not going to go into super depth about that, but if that is something interested, please feel free to contact us. I'm more than happy to work with you to help set it up. Another major part of this release and something we want to talk about today is currently the IPv6 ready logo is updating to RFC 8200 for the base specification. The IETF moved what was 2460 to an internet standard. So they made some minor adjustments. Most of the changes were around fragmentation and a couple of wording cleanups they had in the switches and RFCs. So we're going to add, we have all new test cases to support 8200, 8201. We've also added some neighbor discovery security that wasn't there previously. We have some new test cases, ready logos added for that. All of those are following IETF released a new IPv6 nodes requirements. So all the things that they think should be in an IPv6 node, the ready logo tries to cover all the must inside of that standard. So we've added a lot of new test cases. Currently that test specification is open for public comment. If you go to the ready logo site, you can find it. You can also just click here. I've made a shortcut for you. We're still open for public review for another 13 days. So please feel free to look through the document. If you have any comments, please send them to the appropriate list, and then the ready logo committee should be ready sometime in September to release the public revision of that. As always, before we get into the demo, I just wanted to, here's our contact information. If you want to contact us about any of this, you think it's questions after the webinar today. Obviously, during the webinar, we have the Q&A window. Please use that to start filling out the window, putting in individual information. But if you think of something after the webinar, or you have other questions, please feel free to email intact@iol.unh.edu. So now I'm going to leave the slides and head to the demo portion. So we released 3.3 last week. Some of you, this will look vaguely familiar if you haven't uploaded yet, but it is a change. So right now what I've done is, we'll start from the beginning. The tabs go in the order of what we expect you to execute testing. So if you look right here, I have a tab open. The name of my device is Ratchet. It is just a regular Linux host. Here I put in all the information. This is my packet generator. One thing to note about the packet generator for 3.3, you have to use, because we've added some more support configuration between the application and the packet generator, you need to update the packet generator to 3.3 when you update your app. So otherwise, Intact will throw an error and say, hey, you need to update the app. So make sure you update both the packet generator and the application. So here's all the information for my device. This is very similar. It's just in one window now. Right here, the capture config. It's not a pop-out anymore. It's all in one window. We also have an undo button now that we added. Allows you to set it back if you're accidentally typing in the wrong screen. You can click undo. Also, you can delete configurations. Mine's unwieldy, so I sometimes have to do that. Those are all new features. The same thing is true of the capture config. They have a save, undo, and delete button for all of these. The second thing we have now is a new dashboard. And the dashboard really is where we want all the information about what's currently going on with testing. So I'll come back to that in a minute just because it's more interesting when I'm running testing. So I'm going to click on a couple of test cases here just to let them run in the background. Try not to pick the long ones. So here's the dashboard window. It's going to post updates, give you information about what's going on. Currently, notifications is another area that I'll run in a minute. But the notification window is now down here. It stays in one place. A lot of people, the notification windows would pop up, hide behind windows. They'd miss it. They wouldn't know what was going on. So one of the requests we got was kind of dock it. And so this is the place. Current notifications will show up down in this window. As you can see, it's still running testing. It's all in one window. Get the information. This is the running log. Over here, you can see the individual test cases running. So it tells you how many you've run, how many you have left to go. Of the active tests, really just giving you a status of what's currently going on. with Intact. So while that's running, I'm going to show some of these results. So one thing you'll notice is we do have the ability to colorize results. You can turn that off. There's a properties window that will allow you can check off and on if you want them colored green or red. Red for fail, green for pass. Everything else gets a slightly different color. We also have a maximum number of tabs, which I'm going to talk about in that window. So when you're running individual testing now, one thing you notice is if I double click on a set of results, you can see the individual results. Same as last time. If you want some of that more detailed information, last person to run it, what version of scripts, those kind of things, there's a little hover button. You just hover over it. It'll give that to you. Very similar to what happened before. The captures right down here. You can click to open. I'll open one right now just so you guys can see it. Opens the individual capture exactly like before. One difference, though, is here you can see I have 124 open. If I want to compare that to 124B, I click on that, and that one shows up right here. So now you can have multiple test cases, flip between them, and see the different results if you're looking. So here I've opened up the third one. You can set that in the properties window. There's a really nice setting here to let you, if you only want one to show up, and what will happen in that case is it will override the previous one. So I have 115C open. If you want to open A, it'll just put it right there. This is if you don't want multiple tabs. You can basically set it to just open one for you. Otherwise, I prefer to have a couple. I don't need a ton, but one's too small for me. So I keep it up at about, I go 8, I think. That's the number I like. This way you can open up multiple testings. They pop up. Everything else, if you want to set results, you can set them directly here, change the result value. You can also right-click and change the result if that's easier for you. We still have the export, highlighting, all of those features still exist. It's really just be a drop-down for each test case. The more you run, obviously, the more that would show up. So I'm going to rerun this one. It's a quick test. So then a second version will show up. These are all just the basic GUI redesign. Next, I'm going to demonstrate multiple sessions for you guys to show you how that interacts. At the moment, I'm just going to show you when they're actually in read-only mode. Obviously, with multiple sessions, if you had more than one session running at a time, you can demonstrate it. So what I'm going to do here is I have a second session open here. This one is in read-only mode, and I only ran one test case. But here's where I could compare the two. So this would be my previous testing. I could look at the results, see, OK, I passed last time, and I would go to the same test case over here. This one I obviously can't run. As you can see up in this corner, it's in review-only mode. This will happen to you in two cases. One case will be that you currently have a configuration open. So I have the same configuration file open for this testing. In this case, it throws an error telling me, hey, you don't want to be running those testings at the same time. If I wanted to, and this is what I'll do now, I'm going to close the previous one, saying, OK, and I actually want to do this one. You just click the exit read-only mode, opens the device up. You can click on it. You can start running testing on the other session. What this does do is it allows you to open multiples. So I'm just going to open a new session. There's a checkbox here for open a new window because I want to open this one in a new window. And then this was the one I was previously using. Now it's in read-only mode because the other one has taken the control of that configuration file. Again, this allows you to open multiple sessions, compare results, see all of that information. This is really helpful. So each window is its own session, has it open. You can see all the testing. Yep, this allows you also, in this case, I'm using one device, but if I wanted to, I could have two different devices and be running them at the same time. So if I have 2 core licenses, I can be running them both from the same machine. 2 different applications basically have launched, or it's one app with 2 different sessions is how we characterize that. So that's the multiple session button. A couple of other things I wanted to cover today that are new features in 3.3 is one of them is the Let's pick a couple of test cases on this guy. If you're running testing and realize, oh, I set a configuration wrong, but I've selected, a bunch of test cases, what you can do is you can click the stop button. And here on the dashboard, it'll tell you, which test case is running. It stops. Down here in the corner, you see a resume button has showed up. So this really allows you, when you do the giant selection of tons of test cases and you realize something is wrong and you want to fix it, you don't have to start from the beginning again. You can just click the resume button and it will start directly from where it left off before. Another new feature of Intact is we still have the labels over here that label individual test cases, the base, the DAD test cases. If you right-click and create a label, you can create your own label. In this case, I'm just going to call it webinar label. And then you select the test cases you want. So this allows people who want to run in particular test cases. So I've made my own label. If I check it off, we still have the, rerun all my fails label. So you don't want to be creating them for items that already exist, but there are cases where people, have troublesome test cases they're trying to debug, and they might want to make a label for those individuals. So in this case, I just picked some random test cases that it's just going to go off and run for that label. We talked about custom labels, resume button. If everyone could start, if you have any current questions, please start putting those in. The last thing I want to go over before I start answering questions is I want to talk about the CLI and it being fully functional now. So we'll have to wait for these test cases to run, but I am just going to quickly go through it. So we have a CLI. I'm going to close this version so I can open it, the CLI. So previously, here you can see the individual. We've added a lot more commands, mostly to control the device. The main thing here is you can now see the current configuration of a device. If you want to change that information, previously you had to do this all through the GUI. Now there's a CLI that allows you to change information about a config. So there's the .dot config, cap config. All of these are now fields that if you want to change them, you can. There's a wonderful user guide that I highly recommend that everybody download and use for these types of items. So yeah, the .dot config, all of this now, if you're looking to automate it through the CLI, you can do it that way. We also have the RESTful API, which is all properly documented. I think, one of the poll questions, please fill out the poll. This is my plug. This is my plug for the poll questions. I think we're going to end up doing a REST API future webinar just to give people an idea how we have it set up or how some of our, potentially some of our users have set it up. Here's all the commands that typically show up. So the RESTful API will go there, and it's just IOL intact REST for people who want to set it up. But do look at the user guide, go through it, set it up. So we've added all this new functionality. It allows you to configure all the individual stuff. You can see test cases. Okay, so we can just look at these results right now just to, another thing, you can now export results. All of the stuff that you could do in the GUI, you can now do in the CLI. There's a command for it. You could start testing, stop testing, change the playlist, do any of the things that you could do in the GUI. So those who are looking for automation or have already set it up using the CLI, wanted to make sure that you could continue doing that. But for those who haven't done any of that, we now have the RESTful API. So so we do have a couple of questions that have come in. Please feel free to go to the Q&A session if you have more questions. One of the first questions we got is when licenses are checked out, when a test is running, can they be checked in when a test is complete? Absolutely. That's currently what the sessions do. So when this testing finishes over here, and apparently I ran some really long test cases. Yeah, one more left. When these finish up, someone else could take the license that's not currently running testing. So it will allow you to change between them. Like I said earlier, if you saw, you had to close the session and reopen it, depending on the number of licenses you have. That's still true, but it won't check out a license while testing is not running. If testing is actually running, it checks out the individual playlist. So if you have 2 core playlists, it'll check out cores each time. Can I create, the next question I got was, can I create a new result configuration with the CLI and also delete an existing one? Yeah, we can do that. So individual test cases, you can log into them. In this case, I'm already in one, so let me close this current session that I'm in. And if I go to the help window, you can CD in or you can remove a set of results. So if I didn't like 215 is removed. All of those give you access to the many different, you can remove them from right there. So you just type in the remove command and it wipes out those individual results. And then the same is true. You can create them as needed. All of that's documented in the GUI if you have any of those questions. So we're able to do all of those things now. You can create them, delete them, do whatever's necessary through the CLI. Yeah, one of the questions we got was when do we think RFC 8200 is going to be available? We expect those to be available in the next month. I think for people with support and who are interested getting beta versions of those, we're going to make those available, but the official release should be available on when the Ready logo becomes official. We'll have an official version that people can run the testing. They'll be running exactly what the Ready logo expects at that point. We got a question about micro-containers or microservices. We do have a Docker version of Intact, so I haven't talked at all. We have a virtual machine of Intact that a lot of our users use. They download and run that directly on a machine. It's no different. It's running our Linux version today. I demonstrated I was running this right directly on a Mac. We obviously still, the application runs on a Mac, Windows, or Linux. The VM is a Linux-based one, but we do also have a Docker version of Intact. If you're interested in that, let us know, and we're more than happy to give that version to you. It's a version, that's what we use internally for RCI, for validating features of Intact. So we're more than happy to work with anybody who wants to set up a container or Docker type setup. For any of these things, feel free to send us requests. One thing we want to do, which you'll be hearing from us, is we want to hear what features people want to have added. The 3.3 list, we kind of talked to a lot of our customers for 3.2. We think we want to get feedback from you guys. So if there are features like, hey, we really want Kubernetes or something different, we want it to work in these environments, we're more than happy to make some changes to help out with that. But right now, yeah, we have a version that supports microcontainers, microservices. So I had a question which is interesting. Is there a way to force multiple sessions to be read-only, even if we have enough licenses for all the open sessions? No, we don't have a button to force read-only mode. The only way, there'd be 2 ways to do that. Like I said, you either run out of licenses, or if they have the same configuration file, they would be limited. So that's something to keep in mind. So here, I'll just open another. Do I have the CLI session open? I do right Oh, see, I have this one open in the CLI, so let me close that. So yeah, this is the only way to do it if they have the same config or you run out of licenses, it puts all the future ones. We don't have a button. Again, if people really wanted to do that, that'd actually be an easy feature, so feel free to send that request to us. I think that's something we could add is a button that would force Intact into read-only mode so that you can't change the results for some reason. One thing I didn't display and I talked about a little bit was the notification windows. Now you see the little blinking light went up there. It told me there was something to do. I came here and then it said, hey, you know, initialize interface A, wait for it to do something. In this case, my device is really fast. If in this case, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to turn off the automation just for a minute. Automation works the same. You check off the box if you want it. If you don't want it, you don't have to check it off. So in this case, I'm going to click start. As you can see, a little button tells you, hey, something's going on here. You click on it, and it's waiting for interface A to come up. So I'm going to just do this automatically this time. That's something, as you can see, as I'm doing this. Right here, I'm just copying and pasting the command. If you're ever doing device driver validation, the commands show up directly in there, so you can just copy and paste them into a terminal, and it'll go and run those individual. So yeah, these are all the, this is all of the really good stuff we've added for 3.3. We'd love to get feedback. Please download it and use it. A couple of gotchas I wanted to remind everyone of is when you download it, you are going to need the new package generator. You have to match the package generator and the application. One thing to note too is 8200 will only be supported on 3.3. So while it's not released yet, I would urge everyone to go ahead, try to update now so they can get it out of the way. So when 8200 comes out, they'll just be ready to roll. So we've already gotten some good feedback we're getting on some of the questions, which thanks. You know, some people really like the dashboard. Thanks. You know, it's what we want. We would love some feedback like that. Tell us, hey, it would be much better if stuff stayed in one spot. We did that with this release. We're looking at 3.301. We're going to aim for a November timeframe for that. It might be earlier than that, depending on how many features go in. But it's really dependent on you guys, how many things you want. We want to be able to address small issues, direct request. As a reminder, you can send those to intact@iol.unh.edu, and we'll be happy to. One thing, if you have a colleague or friend who wasn't able to attend this webinar, we post all of our webinars online. They're available. We'll be sending the link out to all of you for this so that you can pass it on to other people so they can come watch the webinar. This was all recorded and should be posted right up on the website. And we're coming to the end. We were planning about a 30-minute webinar, and we're at 31 minutes. So if there's any more last questions, if you want to get those in, I can probably take one or two more about the individual features. I'm checking my notes right now. I think we covered everything in here. We covered multiple sessions. The CLI, all the parameters can be set through the CLI. There's also the poll questions. Please make sure I can see. Actually, way to go, guys. Most of you have filled out the poll question. Please feel free to, if you haven't yet, to fill it out. 77% of you have voted already, which is awesome. It gives us a good idea of what things you want us to show off. So yeah, fill out the poll questions. Any more Q&A? I haven't gotten any more questions, which I think might be a good sign, so that's good. I want to thank everyone who came today. We want to thank most of you are currently users of Intact, so it's really great when we get to communicate with you guys. If you have any other questions, contact us at intact@iol.unh.edu. I want to thank everyone for coming today. Enjoy the rest of your week.